Welcome to Those Crazy Americans. What were they thinking? I'm David Martinez, an American journalist living in Milan, Italy, and a business communications analyst for Global Focus English at Work. After our series Zoom In on the 2020 US elections, here we are looking at American exceptionalism. Except we don't accept that exceptionalism. In fact, we take exception with that exceptionalism. Why, you ask? Well, Americans, including myself, sometimes think they know everything. I've lived in Europe too long to apologize for my countrymen and women, but this distance has given me a global perspective on America and its sense of exceptionalism. Since World War II, America has developed its own narrative of what is good and what is bad. Naturally, in this view, America is good. And certainly, America has produced some important contributions to world order and development. But American exceptionalism has turned away from a sense of commitment and involvement and has encouraged complacency, both at home and abroad. American military, economic, and technological power have maintained a global status quo that ignores two major factors: a domestic sense of privilege due to some very human self-interests, now uncritically sustained by a sense of moral superiority, despite obvious institutionalized domestic inequality, and two, dynamic external factors, not just political, social, or economic, but also including the natural environment. So every week, we will take a look at what America is offering us, whether we like that offer or not. Sometimes these observations will be ironic fun, and sometimes they will be critical. Tonight, you decide. The question we're asking is a question people all around the world are asking. When will I get the coronavirus vaccine? Because for a global pandemic, the vaccine map looks very spotty. Two big countries stand out. The UK, where 35% of the population have had one vaccination shot, and less than 2% are fully vaccinated, and the US, with 27% vaccinated, but where 9% have had both jabs, slang for shots. But even with the UK's 35% coverage, Europe collectively has vaccinated less than 10% of its population. South America, just over 4%. Asia, 2.5%. And Africa, not even half of 1%. Evidently, not every British or American citizen is an essential healthcare worker or over 65 years of age, or even an essential worker. So how is the international vaccine distribution being organized? What are the criteria? 10 different vaccines are being administered worldwide. 3 of those were developed by American pharmaceutical companies. 3 in China, 2 in Russia, 1 in India, and 1 in the EU. The WHO, the World Health Organization, has been trying to coordinate distribution. To receive doses, countries are required to have approved the vaccine, to have a plan for the distribution, and including transparent patient priorities. But the principal problem has to do with producing the vaccines. Despite massive public funding and pre-orders, production has not met expected delivery dates, and richer countries are ordering more doses than they theoretically need, paying pharmaceutical companies prices other countries can't match. At current rates, the World Health Organization expects to deliver 2 billion doses worldwide by the end of 2021. But countries will still need to pay for part of those deliveries and procure the remaining doses required directly from suppliers. Current expectations that vaccinations in poorer countries will continue through 2021, 2022, 2023, and perhaps 2024. In the meantime, the United States has already ordered about 1.5 billion doses, even if that's twice what every American needs, including for their second shots. Given the pandemic nature of a pandemic, and this pandemic, allowing COVID to spread unchecked anywhere in the world is a recipe for prolonging the same pandemic, especially since existing vaccines may not be as effective in combating new variants coming out of different hotspots around the world. So why don't governments that publicly fund vaccine research demand pharma companies share their recipes with other vaccine manufacturers so everyone can get vaccinated quickly? One reason could be the bill chill. Chill means freeze, and Bill is short for Bill Gates. Bill Gates, one of the world's richest people and the hands-on chairman of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Bill and his foundation have been very generous with their funding for global health initiatives. And despite the rumors, it's not because he wants to plant microchips in all humans. His concern is the economics behind world health. And he started pushing global vaccines for other persistent health problems in developing countries long before COVID. Even if Mackenzie Scott, former wife of Jeff Bezos, has donated even more money, $4 billion in 2020, to organizations involved in fighting the pandemic, the Gates Foundation is considered the second biggest funder of the WHO after the United States. And when Bill talks, international institutions and leaders listen, and few contradict him. One of Bill Gates's strongest beliefs is that the rewards for innovation belong to those that solve the problems and not necessarily to those suffering from that problem. Still, the call for suspending vaccine patents and responding faster to the pandemic are indicative of who will pay for a much broader number of changes the environmental crisis and technology will impose on the world as part of the new normal we so eagerly want to enjoy as soon as we've survived the pandemic. This approach, the distribution, the solution to the vaccine distribution for COVID will be exactly the same as approach that is taken for any major crisis in the world in the foreseeable future. So it's a good idea to get the distribution right. Is that clear? As the USA defines itself, we will be here trying to recognize the good, the bad, and the ugly behind their masks, or hopefully without any masks, every week for the next 6 months. And every week will be revolutionary. So please send us your questions and your ideas on particularly crazy topics to cover. Thanks for your likes and shares. Invite your friends to follow us. and see you next week.